Good morning, everyone. So this week we're going to be, or many of us are going to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day. So I thought this was a good day to make some Irish soda bread, which is a very easy, quick bread to make and very delicious. And there's a lot of different uses for Irish soda bread, so we'll talk about that as we go along, but let's first start with our ingredients. In this bowl, I have 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. And to that, we'll get all our dry ingredients together first and then our wet ingredients. So the next thing we're going to add here, just to make the bread nice and sweet, we're going to put in 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons of sugar. Now, if you want to cut back on that sugar, you can cut back as much as down to 1 tablespoon if you prefer. But here we're going to make it a little bit sweet, so I'm going to use all 4 tablespoons. And it is a soda bread, so it's baking soda that is going to be our leavener. It's what's going to make our bread rise, along with buttermilk. So let's put in 1 full teaspoon of baking soda. And we're also going to add 1 full teaspoon of kosher salt. And that is all of our dry ingredients. We're going to add butter. And since it is Irish soda bread, I'm going to use pure Irish butter. 4 tablespoons, I cubed it up. And by the way, you can do this in a mixer if you prefer, but it's just as easy to do it by hand. And we're going to just incorporate the butter into the flour mixture until it's just kind of pea size. And let me just first mix that up. And I'm going to just throw on these gloves just to make it a little bit easier to have clean hands when I'm done. But you certainly don't need to do this at home. Okay, so let's just break up the butter. And it only takes a minute or 2 to do this. If you're a big fan of caraway seeds, you can add a tablespoon of toasted caraway seeds. And to toast them, you just have to put them in a dry pan on top of the stove, just until you can smell the caraway seed, until it's nice and fragrant. Let it cool, and then you can add them to your Irish soda bread if you like that flavor. What I'd like to do is put my raisins in now. And the reason for it is the little bit of flour that's going to attach itself to the raisins will help so that the raisins they're dispersed throughout the bread, as opposed to them just lying in one position, maybe at the bottom of your bread. So if you put your raisins in now, that really helps. Not that this was terribly messy. So just take off my gloves and we're all set there. All right, so I have 1.5 cups of buttermilk. And by the way, there's a gentleman by the name of Rick Rogers, and he's on Instagram, and he shares wonderful little tips. He is a wonderful cookbook author, and he has helped to write many, many books, including his own. And he gave a wonderful tip about buttermilk. Quite often, you might not have buttermilk in your refrigerator, but you'd really like to make this bread. And a lot of people will mention to add vinegar to milk to make sour milk. And his recommendation is to, if you have yogurt and milk in your refrigerator, to do half and half. Take half the amount of yogurt to plain yogurt to half milk, and mix it up, and that you can use as your buttermilk. I thought that was a wonderful tip, so I'd like to share that with you today too. And 1 large egg, which I will add to the buttermilk. And I do love, even in my blueberry muffins, I really like to put some zest, either lemon zest or orange zest. I happen to have an orange. If you don't have it, don't put it in. Don't run out to the store just to do this. But it does give a nice flavor to the bread. So I'm just going to add a little bit of orange zest. just a hint to get that flavor in there. But as I said, this is not a must. Okay. Oh, it smells so wonderful though. And I happen to have the orange, so why not? Just take a whisk and just mix your egg and your zest together. I have my oven set at 375 degrees, and this will bake anywhere from 45 to 55 minutes, depending on your oven. I also have a tablespoon of melted butter and a teaspoon of sugar that we're going to just brush on the top when we're done. So just kind of make a little bit of a well in the center and add all of your wet ingredients all at once. Okay, let's put that aside. And now you just want to bring it all together. And then we'll just put it on the counter just to shape it into a ball. And this is probably a good time to talk about what you would use to bake it on. You can either use a sheet pan with parchment paper, or you can also use, if you happen to have a cast iron pan, you can use a cast iron pan, which I did put a piece of parchment. I would set it on a piece of parchment paper, and you can bake it in the oven this way also. Okay, I think we have all of our dry ingredients mixed pretty well. And just so you know, if for any reason it seems like it's too dry and you can't incorporate all your flour, just add a little more buttermilk, just so that you can get it all together. But you don't want it super wet. You just want to be able to bring your wet and dry ingredients together. So you can always have a little buttermilk on the side in case you need to do that. And now you can just put a little bit of flour on your workspace here, and let's put all of our dough here. Okay, so you can see we have a nice clean bowl. And all you want to do, there's no kneading involved here, like a regular bread, yeast bread. Okay, and you just want to bring your bread together. This is not super wet. It's very easy to work. So now you can just take a sharp knife and you just want to make an X, kind of like if you were making hot cross buns. You just want to make an X. It's just enough so that it's going to open up. That looks pretty good. There we go. And then you can put it either on your baking sheet or your cast iron skillet, which I will put right here. And now we just want to brush the top with our tablespoon of melted butter. We'll give it a beautiful sheen, a very nice golden brown color. And you want to bake this at 375 and check it after 45 minutes. It can take up to 55. There's our butter. And now just take a teaspoon of sugar and just dust the top with a little bit of sugar. You don't even need to use the whole teaspoon. You just want to, just a little bit. I probably used about a half a teaspoon. This is going in the oven. Let's take a look here. In the oven, 375, and you'll see it when it comes out. I'll check it in 45 minutes. So here is our beautiful Irish soda bread. And I took it out of the oven. It did take 55 minutes in my oven. and I let it rest for about 10 minutes. I'm hoping that it's cool enough to slice. You do want it to cool down, but before we go ahead and slice it, I just want to talk about how you can serve this. This is wonderful for breakfast. Just after you bake it off, you can serve it with some Irish butter and delicious jam. You can toast it the next morning also. This will keep up to 2 days room temperature. Otherwise, you do want to refrigerate it if you think it will last more than 2 days. You can also freeze this. This freezes very well. You can also use this on a cheese board. It's delicious. You can, actually, I have some reserve Irish cheddar cheese, which would be really good with it, and some herb nuts, which I've done in a previous video. The only thing is, if I were to serve this with cheese, I probably would use less sugar. I would probably go down to 1 tablespoon of sugar if you want to serve it with a cheese board. You don't need it that sweet for a cheese board. And also, it would be delicious with a stew, a nice Irish stew, which would be with a wonderful lamb shoulder and potatoes, carrots, onions, leeks. It would be delicious. And once again, I would use less sugar for that as well. Or shepherd's pie, which is also a wonderful lamb dish. So these are my suggestions to serve this delicious Irish soda bread. Now you can slice it one of 2 ways, either a serrated knife, or I think you know I'm a big fan of the electric knife. I think it slices breads like this very nicely. So let's go ahead and slice this and see if it slices easily for us. So we can see the inside of the bread. Oh yeah, that looks great. Let me just grab a plate here and get another slice in, and I'll bring it over. Oh, this looks beautiful. One more slice. Okay. And let me bring it over so that you can see. First of all, you can see how the raisins are dispersed throughout the bread, which is really nice. You can also see it has a very nice tight crumb. Oops, there we go. You can see that it has a nice tight crumb. Okay, nice and close up, which is very perfect for an Irish soda bread like this, a quick bread like this, and it's very moist. You can't see that in the camera, but it is nice and moist. I can feel it. It's beautiful. When we raised our family in New Jersey, there was a wonderful shop that I used to go to with the kids all the time. And it was in Colts Neck, New Jersey, Delicious Orchards. And I don't think very often we ever left there without a bag of apple cider donuts and a wonderful Irish soda bread. So our children have loved this forever. And I think they would still enjoy a nice slice of Irish soda bread. Happy St. Patty's Day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I love the ends. I'm a big fan of the ends, so I think I'll take a bite of this one. The orange is lovely in here. Take care, everyone.